There is no breed like the Pomeranian. Like, did you know that Pomeranians were once herding and sled dogs? Or that the most popular dog in social media is a Pomeranian? Interested in learning how one Pomeranian almost prevented Isaac Newton from publishing his theory of the law of gravity? If questions like these intrigue you, stick around. In today's episode, we're counting down the 10 most interesting Pomeranian facts that you didn't know. And that all starts here on The Smart Canine, the only show that explores the most interesting stories and facts behind dogs. But before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. Smash that like button for more interesting Pomeranian videos like this. Number 10. A Pomeranian is the world's fastest dog on two paws. When we talk about the world's fastest dogs, the Greyhound often comes up. And then there's also the Whippet, Borzoi, Vizsla, and Jack Russell Terrier too. But did you know that the fastest dog on two paws is actually a Pomeranian? It's true. In 2014, a Pomeranian named Jeff set two Guinness World Records. One for the fastest 10-meter dash on a dog's hind legs, which he completed in just 6.56 seconds, and the other for the fastest 5-meter dash on a dog's front paws, which Jeff blazed through in 7.76 seconds. In other words, Jeff can walk 3.4 miles per hour, just slightly faster than a human's average walking speed. But that's not all. Jeff often performs all types of tricks and stunts, including skateboarding and stamping his paw for an autograph. Next time you're at Hollywood's Walk of Fame, be sure to look out for Jeff in one of his street performances. Number 9. The Pomeranian is one of the most colorful dog breeds in the world. We already know that Pomeranians are colorful on the inside, but did you know they're arguably the most colorful dog on the outside too? According to the AKC breed standard, there are 18 recognized coat colors, along with 9 different markings for the Pomeranian. In fact, 2 coat colors called the Beaver and Beaver Sable are unique to the Pomeranian. All in all, there are about 23 color combinations that the AKC will officially accept. And just for reference, there are about 3 colors to choose from on average when it comes to most dog breeds. So if you're thinking about bringing home a Pomeranian, you'll have plenty of options to choose from. Number 8. A group of Pomeranians is called a TUFT. When it comes to collective nouns, animals are no stranger to unique names. For example, a group of frogs is called an army. A group of crows is called a murder. Even a group of ferrets is called a business. But what's really interesting is that a group of Pomeranians is called a TUFT. To clarify, a group refers to 3 or more Pomeranians. But what about 2 dogs? They're not called Pomeranians. Instead, we call a pair of Pomeranians a puff. To our knowledge, there are only 3 dog breeds that have collective nouns. The other 2 are pugs and greyhounds. A group of pugs is called a grumble, while the pack of greyhounds is called a flash. Number 7. The most popular dog on social media is a Pomeranian. In the past few years, dogs have become no stranger to social media. With the recent explosion of dog influencers, is it really a surprise that we have superstar dogs on social media? Jeff the Pomeranian is the most popular individual dog on Instagram with an astonishing 10 million followers. No other dog on the social media platform even comes close. And yes, we're talking about the same dog that set those world records. But what's even more amazing is Boo the Pomeranian. On Facebook, Boo has garnered a remarkable 15 million followers on his Facebook fan page, making him the single most popular dog on all social media networks. Unfortunately, Boo passed away in 2019, leaving millions of dog lovers and fans in tears. The superstar dog started experiencing heart problems in 2017 after his best friend passed away. Apparently, Boo literally passed due to a broken heart. Number 6. A Pomeranian will change coat color throughout his life. Fun fact, did you know that Dalmatians are born without spots? The spots actually develop as dogs mature in life. It's kind of like how a Pomeranian's coat will change colors from birth to adulthood. Well, this is mainly true for some colors and not all. For example, orange sable coats tend to be a few shades darker when the dog is still in puppyhood. And as the dog matures and ages, the darker color will gradually morph into a lighter beige with the intended standard color arriving once the dog reaches full maturity. So just because your Pomeranian puppy has a beautiful white coat doesn't mean the coat will change into a light beige as an adult dog. And don't freak out if the colors do change. Just remember that it's completely normal for Pomeranians. Number 5. Queen Victoria was obsessed with Pomeranians. Queen Victoria's reign over Great Britain was one of the most influential, having made great advances in science, culture, and infrastructure. However, some may argue that her love and obsession for Pomeranians had the greatest impact on the breed. Like how Queen Elizabeth brought fame to the Welsh Corgi, Queen Victoria did the same for the Pomeranian. In 1888, when the Queen visited Florence, Italy, she instantly fell in love with Volpino Italiano. These were small Spitz-type dog breeds that were very closely related to the modern-day Pomeranian. When she returned, she immediately brought 4 new Pomeranians into the royal home, and because of the queen's influence over pop culture, Pomeranians exploded in popularity, becoming the trendy and fashionable toy breed to own. So just how obsessed was Queen Victoria with Pomeranians? Well, at one point she had 35 Poms in the royal kennels. Number 4. They're not called Pomeranians because they originate from Pomerania. So where did the name Pomeranian actually come from? These dogs were popular in a region nestled between Poland and Germany called Pomerania. But oddly enough, not even the people of Pomerania called them Pomeranians. They were often referred to as the Fox Dog, the Lulu, Palmer, Wolf Spitz, German Spitz, Volpino, and just Spitz Dog. But what's really interesting is that historians believe these dogs were named Pomeranians because Pomerania was the point of origin for the breed. Rather, it's because it was the place that the Pomeranian breed was first bred to be smaller, a lot like the modern ones we have today. Number 3. Pomeranians were popular among classical artists. When it comes to classical art, few dog breeds have inspired the world's most famous artists like the Pomeranian has. For example, composer Wolfgang Mozart dedicated one of his arias to his beloved Pomeranian. Even Chopin's Waltz of the Little Dogs was inspired by watching his friends Pomeranians playing with joy. And let's not forget the countless Pomeranians that have been featured in classical artworks, including the study of a Pomeranian dog by the great Leonardo da Vinci. Even when Pomeranians aren't featured in artwork, they're always close by. According to legend, the Italian painter Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel while his Pomeranian sat nearby and watched him at work. It's simply amazing to think that some of the greatest works in art may not have ever happened if it weren't for these wonderful dogs. Number 2. Pomeranians were big working dogs with jobs you'd least expect. As we previously alluded to, the Pomeranians we see today are not like the ones of the past. In fact, these dogs were downsized twice to become small toy companions and lap dogs. The first time happening in Pomerania, and the second time when Queen Victoria popularized the breed. And believe it or not, before the 19th century, Pomeranians were primarily working dogs. Plus, they were developed for jobs that you'd least expect, such as pulling sleds, protecting homes, and in some cases, herding too. Now, you probably just looked a good look at your Pomeranian and thought to yourself, how is that even possible? Well, the Pomeranians of the past were strong and relatively big dogs. It's believed that those Pomeranians of the past weighed about 30 pounds or more. And in some rare cases, breeders today will still see some of these throwback Poms in their litters. Number 1. One Pomeranian almost prevented Isaac Newton from completing his theory on the law of gravity. Sir Isaac Newton was an English mathematician, physicist, and one of the greatest minds and influential scientists to grace this earth. One of his most renowned theories was the law of gravity. But did you know that Newton's Pomeranian, named Diamond, almost prevented him from completing this theory? And at the same time, the dog sent him into a deep depression. According to the story, Newton was already extremely close to finalizing his theory on gravity. In fact, he mentioned that he was getting ready for publication. But one night, while Newton was up late, he heard a knock on the door. Of course, the scientist went to check the door. But when Diamond the Pomeranian heard the strange voice of the guest, he quickly scrambled to protect his owner. However, with the worst luck possible, the Pom knocked over the candles on the table, which set Newton's manuscript on fire. That manuscript had Newton's only copy of the law of gravity on it. Years of sleepless nights and hard work flashed before his eyes. It's not hard to understand why this sent Newton into a deep depression. But the good news is that he eventually got over it, and while it took a full year, Newton eventually restored his theory. So what was your favorite Pomeranian fact? Did we miss any that deserve to be in this top 10? Let us know in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the Smart Canine for the most interesting stories and facts behind dogs.